I'll be honest, I don't exactly want to do this video. I have other projects and scripts and game reviews in the works, and this one is on such short notice that you may have noticed that I simply spruced up and reused an old thumbnail for it. I didn't have time to get one of my artists on this, so I had to make do. Understandably, you might then be wondering why I'm making a video on a topic I don't exactly want to cover. Well, the answer is pretty simple. It's because sometimes something so utterly ridiculous occurs that I can't ignore it. I wouldn't say I feel obligated to speak on it, but as someone who tries to provide more nuance to various happenings, and given my own personal identities, there's just some controversies where it makes sense for me to share my thoughts. This is one of those moments. Although, before I continue on, I want to make it clear that while I'm about to discuss a very politically charged situation, I'm not here to lend support to anybody, nor am I here to oppose them. And by that I mean I will not be sharing my opinions on whether I believe particular people are qualified or not to take on political positions. I am not a campaigner, and you're not watching my content for me to tell you who you should support or vote for or whatever. So while the subject popped up because of politics, I wouldn't define this video as political, at least not in the traditional sense. I'm actually going to very quickly get through the DC bullshit side of things. So, deep breath, here we go. If you're up to date with current events surrounding the Supreme Court, and let's be real, it's hard to avoid because we live in hell and politics are jammed up our asses whether we consent or not, then you know that very recently Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, leaving a vacancy on the Supreme Court. This, being a hotly contested election year, made it all the more problematic for some, and this reached new levels of anger when shortly after RBG's death, President Trump nominated Amy Coney Barrett to take her place, a move which led to Senate confirmation hearings. This, right away, was controversial. Not the confirmation hearings, mind you, as that's totally the norm, but the potential appointment of Amy Coney Barrett. On the one hand, this is to be expected as no potential Supreme Court pick will be an easy pill to swallow for those not controlling the White House. But with how further divided things are, there's a rhetoric of doom and gloom clouding over it all. Perhaps more so than Trump's two other Supreme Court appointees because this will weigh the court towards the right. And with these being lifetime positions, there's a very real likelihood of this impacting an entire generation, which, depending on your personal politics, will either be viewed as a good impact or a bad one. That is strictly for you to decide. As you can probably understand, because of how massive the entire affair is, Amy Coney Barrett was immediately thrust into controversy. The key reasons being the speed at which the GOP is trying to get her on the bench, the fact that this is occurring during an election, and because of her religious background. It's that latter point which has certain progressives up in arms because they believe her faith will push her to go after abortion and gay rights. Whether any of that will happen or not, we'll just have to wait and see, although I highly doubt we're heading towards a Handmaid's Tale future as some seem to love fear-mongering about. But that aside, it was this week while being addressed by Senator Mazie Hirono during the Senate confirmation hearings that LGBT issues came up and the controversy for which this video exists to cover. Okay, we got through the bulk of that bullshit. Just diving right into it now, the senator began grilling Amy Coney Barrett for her use of the term sexual preference, stating that it is offensive and outdated. What followed was a media and social media shitstorm, or as I will thusly begin labeling it, a manufactured outrage. Within no time at all, the senator's spiel began during the rounds online, and media figures, influencers, news organizations, and other websites rushed to agree with the sentiment. Jezebel called it a slur. Kyle Griffin of MSNBC said it was an offensive term which suggests sexuality is a choice. Pink News labeled it one of the oldest homophobic dog whistles in the book. Logo TV retweeted Kyle Griffin and expressed frustration with Amy Coney Barrett. The Advocate called it a revealing moment. Joy Behar of The View said Amy's use of the term either showed a naiveness or was a dog whistle to those on her side, and that's just barely scratching the surface of the negative coverage it got. Speaking quite frankly, this situation is one of the biggest attempts at gaslighting the nation that I've ever seen, and I don't say that lightly, as gaslighting has become one of the most annoying words in recent years as people all over the web inaccurately use it for anything and everything. But if the glove fits, then it fits. If you're not totally sure what gaslighting means, it is defined by Healthline as a form of emotional abuse. It's the act of manipulating a person by forcing them to question their thoughts, memories, and the events occurring around them. As you are about to see, that fits this sexual preference discourse quite accurately. On the very same day this controversy kicked off, Webster's dictionary changed the definition of sexual preferences to include that it is offensive. This didn't happen days, weeks, or months before. It occurred on the very day. Let that sink in. To carry water for a controversy kicked off by the Democratic elite, the dictionary forcefully altered a definition just to lend more weight to the ordeal. That is startling. Which, quick interjection, as a gay person myself, I've never once viewed the term sexual preference as offensive, nor have I known any other gay people who do. By definition, a preference is a greater liking for one alternative over another or others. Speaking just for myself, within my paradigm, I don't believe that necessarily implies choice. Now, certainly some preferences are choice-based, but not all. An example being taste preferences. I hate grapefruit. Not even kidding, it tastes like vomit to me. It is stomach juices in fruit form. It's disgusting. So naturally, I don't have a preference for it. That is not by choice, it is a preference controlled by my taste buds, which metaphorically scream in agony anytime the puke fruit touches my tongue. My sexuality is similar. My sexuality is not like puke fruit, don't get that twisted. I don't enjoy, nor am I attracted to specific genitals. Certainly I'd have a better dating pool if I could just get it on with anyone, but I can't. My sexual preferences dictates that. However, with that said, I can still understand how and why some people think sexual preferences implies choice. We do, after all have preferences that are built around choice. So many, in fact, that choice-based preferences might even outweigh those we carry that are natural. So yeah, I get it. Truly I do. In the interest of fairness, it is also worth mentioning that GLAAD has opposed the term for some time, as have other people and organizations. The problem with what arose from the Senate confirmation hearing is that it was not a natural progression of outrage or opposition towards the term. No doubt, words and phrases evolve over time. It is likely that sexual preferences will eventually give way to a new and better term, or one we're currently using. We see that with the continued popularity of sexual orientation, an arguably better way of saying it, perhaps. But words don't change overnight, and there has been no widespread public discourse surrounding the term sexual preferences. It went from being viewed as non-offensive by the media and public at large one minute to being straight up homophobic the next. As proof of this, where was the outrage in May when Joe Biden said sexual preferences? Or why could Pink News, which calls it the oldest homophobic dog whistle in the book, include it in a tweet just last year? Or The Advocate and Logo TV using it less than 4 weeks ago? Jezebel, which explicitly called it a slur, was using it in articles all of 4 months ago. And the list goes on and on and on and on. This is gaslighting. It is insane. It is manufactured outrage to the nth degree. Until the politically charged Senate confirmation hearing surrounding Amy Coney Barrett, anger towards this was practically nil. It was not in the public conscience, nor was it even widespread within the LGBT community. The usage of sexual preferences was the norm. Had there been any mainstream discourse long before and a consensus that it's better to say other terms instead, this situation might be different. But as it stands now, a word was changed overnight to form a gotcha moment against a political rival. And not just the media, but now the dictionary is changing things just to play along. A scary sentiment which should give us all pause.